Alright guys, welcome to our first unit screencast, European Exploration and Colonization. We're going to start off with Christopher Columbus. In 1492, Columbus sailed across the Atlantic Ocean, believing he had found a water route to Asia. In reality, he landed in the Caribbean, on the island of Hispaniola, along with the islands of San Salvador and a few other Caribbean islands. He spent the rest of his life believing that he had found a water route to Asia. But in 1501, Amerigo Vespucci, following Columbus's directions, also came to the New World, sailed up and down the coastline, realizing this was not Asia. This is indeed a whole new land, a whole new world, if you would, and went back to Europe, told a German mapmaker, what he had found, and the New World was opened. The mapmaker even wrote Vespucci's name on it, calling it Amerigo, or Americas. On the upper left, we have a picture of Christopher Columbus. On the right, Vespucci. But this also began something called the Columbian Exchange. Plants, animals, supplies, and ideas, especially ideas and thoughts, began to be brought back and forth between the Americas and Europe. But there was one other thing that was also brought back and forth that was not intended, and that's disease. But they also brought religion. In the late 1400s, Spain sent more and more explorers and conquistadors to the Americas with three main goals. One, to spread their religion, Christianity. And they did that through the use of missionaries. They also wanted to expand their empire. They wanted to colonize new land, because in those days, the more land you had, the more powerful you were. Because you had more supplies, more land, more territory, more natural and raw resources at your disposal. And they wanted to become rich and wealthy. Who doesn't? This is called the economic system of mercantilism. It's a theory and system of their economy, reaching out, claiming as many different lands as they can to get as many different natural resources as they can to trade with those materials to other countries. And always when they trade, you want to get the better deal, and that still works today. But this was the system of mercantilism, colonizing and conquering new lands just to get the raw materials from it. Spain continued to send soldiers, also known as conquistadors, throughout the New World to colonize it and claim it in the name of the king. Three of the more famous conquistadors were Hernan Cortez, Francisco Pizarro, and Juan Ponce de Leon. Cortez came to the New World in 1519, and he encountered the Aztec Empire led by Montezuma. Now, when they first met Cortez, they actually thought he was a god, because he came on this boat, shining armor, glistening in the sunlight. He looked like he was himself glowing and shining. So they respected him, they welcomed him in with open arms. Cortez actually allied himself with Aztec enemies, because he recognized that the Aztecs were the power in the area, and if he could conquer them, he would conquer everything. He made his way to Tenochtitlan, the capital city of the Aztec Empire. Once inside, he attempts to control the Aztecs through Montezuma. Montezuma refuses, and the Aztecs force the Spanish out. However, they left something behind which really helped them in their conquest: smallpox. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of thousands of Aztecs die in the capital city from smallpox, and those who don't die are severely weakened. The Spanish are able to come back a few weeks later and capture the city in what becomes known as La Noche Triste, the sad night, the night essentially that the Aztec Empire fell. Pizarro did something similar, but in Peru with the Inca Empire, led by Atahualpa. Francisco Pizarro explored in 1532. Like I said, he went south, more so south than Mexico. Pizarro attacked the Inca and captured the Emperor Atahualpa. Atahualpa tried to give him a bribe of gold and silver to let him go, to let his people go. This just made Pizarro even crazier for money and power and greed. He demanded more. Atahualpa refused, and he ended up killing Atahualpa by strangling him. The Inca Empire was destroyed by more battles and war, along with the spread of disease. Juan Ponce de Leon originally sailed with Columbus on his early expeditions and made a whole ton of money on the island of Puerto Rico, where he learned and heard stories of the Fountain of Youth, which in all reality was just a story made by the natives in order to get Ponce de Leon and the other Spanish conquistadors to leave them alone and go search elsewhere. They had stories of the Fountain of Youth, the Cibola, the lost city of gold, just to keep these Spaniards busy and leaving them alone. In 1513, Ponce de Leon led an expedition to the American mainland, specifically Florida. They explored the area, didn't quite find what they were looking for, but they came back 8 years later, in 1521, with over 200 men. This time, the natives tried to push them back using poison arrows. Ponce de Leon was shot in the stomach and died a few days later. With Spain's success, and I use success lightly, other European countries wanted to get in on the action. They started to learn of the New World discovery. So Jacques Cartier, 1536, sailing for the country of France, sails up the St. Lawrence River, modern-day Canada, it's right on the United States-Canadian border, to modern-day Montreal. He's looking for a Northwest Passage. Now, what is a Northwest Passage? That is simply a water route to Asia. They're still looking for that route to Asia. They figured if they can go through some of these rivers, try to get to the other side. And that's what they were looking for. Samuel de Champlain followed up in 1608. He founded the first permanent French settlement and trading post in the New World. That post will become Quebec. Became one of the most important bases for the French during the next 150 years throughout all of our histories, throughout the French and Indian War, the American Revolution. It would become such a key city, and to this day is one of the biggest and most important cities in Canada. John Cabot, an Italian, he sailed for England. He was living in England at the time. He sailed in 1497. Like Columbus, he thought he had landed in Asia. But in reality, he landed off the coast of Canada on the island of Newfoundland. There he planted a British flag, claiming the land in the name of the King of England, which sets the stage for all of British colonization in the Americas, the original 13 colonies. Henry Hudson, an Englishman, but he's sailing for the Dutch, also the Netherlands. He sailed to the coast of New York and up onto modern-day Hudson River. Again, what's he looking for? The Northwest Passage. Make sure you have completely filled out your graphic organizer. If you missed anything, make sure to watch the video, or you can just go to the textbook and find anything that you may have missed.